Welcome to Tourism Talks, where we will talk to business leaders across the globe about the coronavirus and its impact on the industry, and the most importantly, the future of tourism and some of their own personal experiences through this crisis. Today, I'm very excited and thrilled to introduce my guest, an industry leader, a SKAL 2018 to 19 World SKAL President, Lavonne Wittmann. Lavonne is joining us live from South Africa. It's great to see you, Lavonne. How are you today?
I'm feeling good. Just a little nervous after this not working, but I'm feeling good overall. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think your camera is great, so everything looks great. So no worries. So my first question to you is, how are you managing through this crisis personally? You know, I'm staying home just like everybody else. I'm trying to stay connected with the friends and family. I'm trying to exercise in my tiny downtown apartment in Vancouver. But overall, I'm positive and grateful to be healthy. So how are you managing through this crisis personally?
I feel good. I think like everybody else listening in and like everybody else that has been in isolation, we've gone through different emotions. It's a grieving process for us because we're grieving the loss of the world as we know it. We're grieving the way we lived, the way we worked, the way we played. So we do go through emotions. It's an anger, it's an acceptance, it's a hatred, it's a depression. But I feel as though I've gone through all of these emotions. We've also been in lockdown. We're in day 37. I don't even know what day it is, but we are in day 37 of lockdown. But funny enough, I'm actually very excited about the new world. I'm excited about what challenges and opportunities it's going to bring to us. So I'm sort of in two minds at the moment. But generally, I'm feeling good. Thank goodness I'm not in an apartment. I do have quite a big garden, but I don't like exercising. So there you go.
So I have never been to South Africa, and South Africa is at the top of my list, actually, and I'm looking forward to traveling to South Africa after this crisis. So I cannot imagine what you are looking to from your window right now. So must be beautiful.
It is, but it's pitch dark. So because it's 8 o'clock there at night, it's pitch dark. But we're getting into autumn. They're the most beautiful colors of the trees. We have a fantastic winter in South Africa, especially in Pretoria. We have high temperatures of 23, 24 when it's winter. So
wow,
clear blue skies, and it's gorgeous weather.
That's amazing. We are getting a little bit rain in Vancouver, so during winter time, but summers are beautiful.
Good.
So I'm glad that you are staying positive. I think this is very important during this difficult time. And as young professionals, we need to get inspired by professionals like yourself, especially during this difficult time. So thank you for giving us positivity. So as a tourism leader, as a tourism professional, this is not the first time that you are experiencing a crisis. So, you know, we experience different crises before, including 9/11 or a recession or different crises. So what do you think? What is the most significant difference between this crisis and others?
You know, when I look at a crisis, let's be honest with each other. A crisis is a crisis, no matter how big it is. Of course, this COVID-19 crisis has become the biggest and most intense crisis that the whole world has ever experienced. But when we're looking at a crisis, and I see a lot of my South African friends, travel agents that have joined, travel and tourism is such a dynamic industry and it's ever changing. So I'm inclined to tell you that members of the travel and tourism industry, especially the retail travel agents, are very resilient and tenacious people. Yes. You know, we think of this as a huge crisis, which of course it is. But when we look at it and we see what us as travel agents, hoteliers, and travel and tourism people have been through over the past decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, we then realize that, yes, this is bigger. I like to look at things as we compare tornadoes or earthquakes with different levels. Mm. It feels as though the crisis we've been through in the past have been level 3 or 4. This COVID-19 is level 9 or 10.
Yes.
But still, it's a crisis. And what we have to remember is we have gone through so many crises. I mean, we then looked at 9/11, which was the huge game changer, which we're still looking at today when we board a flight, when we're on an aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, the terrorist attacks that happened in London and most of the big places around the world, the big thing for us in South Africa in the early 2000s was when our commission was taken away from us. And I can still remember that very clearly, and I'm sure people can relate to me. We thought it was the end of travel, as the end of travel. We were in our black clothes. We were ready to attend funerals. We thought this was the death of the retail travel agent. And when we look back, we overcame it. Yes, there is going to be casualties in every crisis, in every challenge, in every disruptor, in every game changer. There are going to be casualties. But we have to focus and remember that we are going to move forward in a different way. We are going to be able to do travel in a different way. And it might not be all that bad as what we think. I know that, you know, I'm talking to you and it looks as though I'm this motivational speaker, but we've got to understand and we've got to be real. Face it. It is what it is. Even though we hope that it didn't happen and we want to get into a corner and wake up when it's all over, we can't do that. We are sitting in the midst of this crisis. And if I can just add on how I face and challenges. What I always do is I become quiet. I think and I get noise out of my mind. The social media, the doom and gloom, the people talking on the radio, people who are blogging. Let's forget, let's be quiet and realize and address exactly what this challenge is. We face it head on because there's nothing you can do about it. And we are resilient people. I then look at a program, I look at my problem and I say to myself, let me become resilient. Let me see how I can get rid of my emotions and fear and look at it in a real term. It's difficult, but it can be done. You can immediately then see and break it down on exactly funneling how this challenge is going to be affecting you. How's it going to be affecting me, my family, and my business? Then you can break it down and say, right, these are the questions I need to ask. This is how I'm going to take it on. And another way that I look at facing challenges is actually think every day in the present. How can I address this challenge with the resources I have at today, this time, while also inspiring others? And then my whole mind shift changes from becoming fear-driven to solution-driven. And I think we should look at that when we're looking at these challenges. It doesn't take out the intensity of what we're facing, but it breaks it down into little bits that we can at least face and then move on with.
Thank you, Lavonne. It's amazing to see how motivated you are. And I absolutely agree with you. I think we need to stay positive. And you know, I have been watching other live streams and news. So what I see is that people are focusing on what this virus did to our industry and our lives. I think we need to focus on the future and we need to focus on how we can get ready for post-pandemic. So I think the coronavirus will be there for the next 12 to 18 months. Who knows? We don't have that information. And things might get back to a different normal than what we know now or yesterday, as you mentioned. And as for my experience with the customers, that they are really concerned about the safety, cleanliness, and the disinfection qualities of the supply base. And I think there will be some changes on the supplier evaluation process as well. So I think as a supplier, I think that we need to focus on, we need to build new standards in our operations. And so I see more money being invested on the cleanliness, the housekeeping procedures and certification of this. So I'm talking about from a supply perspective. So I think we need to get ready for post-pandemic, and we need to look into the future. So thank you so much for your view on that. And I know that you are consulting businesses, you are educating businesses. So how do you manage your business during this pandemic?
But that's what we've just explained. That's how I've managed it in the term with how is it going to affect me person that I've just answered. That is the only way we can do it. You know, we can, as you know, travel and tourism depends so much on social, political, economical, and technological. We are one industry that gets affected so much by any one of these that we don't have complete control. We've got to become, and I'm glad you've said it, I've attended quite a few webinars over the past 3 weeks, and I feel as though I'm a complete expert at COVID-19 because people are telling me the very same things. I don't want to hear that. I want to know in practical terms, what am I going to do? It is what it is. I can't fight the system. I can't put planes on runways. I can't open borders. I can't go and get these people to travel because they're in isolation. So sometimes it becomes a reality that you've actually got to come down, get your pen and paper, sit quietly and think to yourself, how am I going to manage? Do I have the finances to carry myself for the next 6 months? Because that's what it is. You're not earning money. Is it what I really want to do? Because sometimes it's not. This might be a game changer for you and you're going to realize, actually, I don't want to do this. If your question and answer, and your answer is yes to that, because I faced a huge challenge 4 years ago where I had to be honest with myself and say to myself, do I want to carry on doing what I am doing? Yes, something disrupted my thought pattern to make me, ask this question. But it was a good thing for me because I lost everything after being completely depressed for 2 weeks and crying and feeling so incredibly sorry for myself and thinking, why did God choose me to go through this? I then I was quiet and I thought to myself, but wait a minute. This is a chance for me to relook at my business plan, relook at the type of travel agency, hotelier, anything. What do I want to become? How am I going to get it? Remember, and the one question is post-pandemic is we've got to realize in the travel and tourism industry, there's going to be no more long-term or mid-term planning. We're going to be doing short-term planning because there are going to be different levels that we are going to be coming back as travelers. So just like we've got different levels of lockdown, I see it being different levels of tourists coming back to travel. And each one of those levels are going to have the tourist and traveler dictate to the supplier, to the agent, to the tour company, how they want to travel. And we've got to fit in and adapt and be patient with the process and be flexible, knowing that we can do it. Of course we can do it, but it's going to be completely different. It's like we're sitting with all the education, we're sitting with the experience, but now what? Now we're facing something else. And this then, for me, strikes a different place in my brain where I can actually think of something completely different. And that's how I've always managed my life. And if something comes, of course you're angry. We all thrive when things are going exceptionally well. And then we go into complete survival mode when there's a dilemma in our lives. Let's not think of it that way. Let's move and say this might be the time that we either leave the industry, look at it differently, and attempt to create a different business plan, a different future for us.
Yes, and thank you so much, Lavonne. So going into the details of post-pandemic, so you have a great tourism development background. So I would like to go into the details of post-pandemic and see how is your view on post-pandemic in terms of what would the travelers be looking for post-pandemic, if we can go into the details together. So what do you think about that?
Well, if we look at it, I know one question is, and it's an open question, what do you think is going to happen?
Mhm.
I don't think anybody knows what is going to happen,
Yes.
but we are sitting here with a blank canvas. So, you know, it reminds me of when I went to school and you go out on an outing and people say, get into groups and go and decide what this question, go and, sort of debate it out and find out. This is
Yes.
how I see it. I do know, and we've got to understand that this is not going to take a short while, but people are going to travel. There is nothing that's going to stop somebody from traveling. Of course, they've been stopped
Of
now
course.
because of government rules and regulations. But remember, the world is on pause. It doesn't mean your dream becomes a pause. You're still dreaming. It's still going to be on your bucket list. Like you said, you're still hoping to come to South Africa. This is reality. That's never going to be taken away from us.
Mm-hmm.
But if we look at, and it's difficult to say this, but you know, whenever I'm faced with the unknown, I always come back to myself and think to myself, what would I want to do if I'm a traveler? We've all who are joining us have traveled the world. They're used to traveling. What would I like? And we would be speaking on behalf of a lot of travelers, the general public.
Mm-hmm.
What would I want to do when right after this coronavirus are locked down? What would I like to do? And you're right, like you were saying just now, this is going to be the safety and health aspect of any airline, tour company, tour bus, cruise line, accommodation establishment is going to be based at this stage solely on am I being protected? Are the germs being stopped? Are there places, is every sort of process being put in place? That's going to be my first, and that's what everybody's going to say.
Mm-hmm.
So like people used to check on TripAdvisor before going to a place, they're going to say, oh, okay, I've booked into this hotel. Where is it located? What do people say about it?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be the safe and healthy. So that's going to be, for me, the biggest one. Secondly, at this stage, I would not like to travel too far from our house. I've been isolated. I'm thinking, okay, do I want to go out too far? No, I don't. But I want to be close to where I feel comfortable. I think
Yes.
that is going to be the traveler. Another thing is people are going to want to travel with their families. In case something like this happens again, don't worry, we've got all our families together. So that's going to be the rise of multi-generational travel, as well as experiential travel is going to become more important. And people are going to be looking for completely new destinations, not the overcrowded places that was before the virus, but more open spaces, people where there's small groups, an area where they can feel safe, where you don't have that intense crowd is going to be normal. That's what we'd all want to do. But again, like I'm saying to you, that is going to come in different levels. It is not going to, and I mean, of course, we want to think that the minute this isolation and borders open, every plane's going to be full and we're all going to only travel.
No.
It's not like that. People are scared. People are going to take it gently, but travel, they are going to be doing travel. And so this, like I say, is going to be quite an interesting time for us because you as a business owner are going to look at, do I need what I've got now? Look at my organogram of staff. Have I got enough finances? How can I project and change at a quick pace what people are going to want? And it's not going to be the same old, same old. It's going to be where the travelers are dictating on each level of what they want to do and where they want to go. And so we're going to be adapting. We must also remember, and what we've learned in South Africa, we've definitely learned that we have to garner a more better relationship between the public sector and the private sector.
Mm-hmm.
We have got to show that we are the best, the biggest income generator, the biggest job creator, and we need unconditional assistance from the government. We are selling the product of the government, of the country, and so we need to be treated differently. And another thing that has to be done is a new recovery plan for the pandemic and for what we are in has to be relooked and reviewed because it is going to happen again. But we have to be more aware and more prepared for it. So those are the things that I see are going to be post-pandemic.
These are great insights, Lavonne. Thank you so much again. As you mentioned, I think the trends will be changed after this crisis. So it will be very interesting to see what the travelers will be looking for and what will be the trends. And as you mentioned, people will probably choose to travel to the places that are not really crowded. So which is actually very different than before because there are top destinations that people like to travel. So this might change after the crisis. So it will be very interesting to see what will be the new trends. And as you mentioned, we need to be ready for post-pandemic. I'm always talking about from a perspective of supplier, hotelier. I think we need to get ready for those days. And as you mentioned, I think we need more support from the government. And also we need to be ready for the next crisis. And so that we don't have to shut down the whole world. So thank you again for your insight. So my next question is to you, will be about SKAL. And so you led the largest tourism association with over 14,000 members around the world. So I'm curious personally, how does it feel like to be a president of SKAL International?
It's one of the greatest honors and privileges to have been a president of SKAL International. It was one of my most exciting and most challenging years I've ever experienced. But for me, it was absolutely phenomenal to know that the SKAL International president is actually a balancer and a facilitator and a leader that on one side has a group of people that are completely part of the industry. They don't want to see the end of this industry. They want to see the success of this industry. They love it, and they are absolutely determined to keep this industry. But on the other hand, you're dealing with 14,000 people in 102 different countries. Yes, and each amazing. One has their own expectations and perceptions. That's apart from different languages, different cultures, different business ethics. But what I learned is everybody, no matter where you come from, no matter what you are doing, you all want to be part of an organization. You want to add value. You want to be able to have a platform where your view can be addressed. You want to be heard. That's a normal thing that every human being has. So for me, being a SKAL president, I had to look at as many common denominators as possible, because I traveled over 155 flights last year to every continent in the world. And everyone, every country, every person, we are still human. We still bleed. We still want to be loved. We still want to be looked at. So that was my basis. It is a unique organization, because normally when you've got a multinational company or a bigger organization, you have different people in different areas looking after a specific region or area. But being the SKAL International president, you're one person with your executive committee having to deal with this. But I absolutely enjoyed every second of my year being SKAL International president. It was a time for me to learn things. I thought I'd known and gone through one challenge after another, but this taught me the most incredible lessons, and I will never, ever forget it. As you said, it is the tourism organization in the world, and it's the only one that represents every sector of the travel and tourism industry. For me to have led that, to balance the common denominators with the complete diverse differences, and then still lead it together as a team to be visible and relevant through the travel and tourism industry, that was what I needed to do. And my presidential theme was strength through collaboration, because I am most certainly not an autocratic leader or a dictator. for me, leading and being a leader is definitely working together as a team and seeing all the talents and the energies that people can add on, not to make them shine in the organization. So I was extremely thrilled and honored to be the president.
Thank you, Lavonne. And I have to say that I became a young SKAL member about 9 years ago, and that was one of the best decisions I made in my life. I tell this to everyone that knows me, because I was able to connect with industry amazing people, some amazing people through this organization across the world, such as just like yourself. And I have made great connections around the world. I started my journey in Turkey, and then I moved to Canada. And with the power of SKAL, I was able to connect with people day one. So I think this is very important. And as you mentioned, this is an incredible organization, and everybody's friendly. I think as SKAL's team, global tourism, SKAL is promoting global tourism and friendship. I think that's what we can say about SKAL, and it's very, I think, clear from that perspective. And my next question to you is about young professionals. And we know that young professionals are important, and we know that the millennials will be the largest market in the future in travel and tourism. And I know that you're a great supporter of young professionals and students. Why do you think the young professionals are essential, and what is your message to them at this time?
Okay, so I'm quite confused about why you're asking me why young professionals are essential, because that is just what they are. They are essential. I must tell you, and I know probably my daughters are watching, I do always think that I'm very young. I still think I'm 33, and I think I'm hip and happening. So I always feel that I can relate to the young people. And young professionals coming into SKAL International, coming into a company, coming into any sort of organization, committee, company, they are absolutely essential, because for me, how else are we going to remain relevant in SKAL if we do not get representation from every generation? So I'm a baby boomer. When I started out in my career, I absolutely used to admire certain people. And the biggest thrill was if they looked at me and saw my worth, gave me authority, gave me a chance to prove myself. So that is what I want to do. I am extremely passionate about empowering young professionals and mentoring them, because they are what we need. Remember, and to me, a young professional comes in actually with a complete innocence. You know what I mean? The difference?
Yes.
We sort of older, and we're a little bit cynical sometimes. We've had life giving us emotionally, and we think, oh, okay, and we become a bit cynical. We sometimes lose the passion or lose the excitement. When you're bringing in the young professionals, here they come. They don't have all those preconceived ideas. They're coming in with that excitement, that new passion, new ideas. They can teach us so much. And in SKAL International, we actually have an incredibly good winning recipe, because if these young professionals are coming in with the passion, with the excitement, with the new ideas, and telling us are going to approach and appeal to the millennials and have it mixed with the older, look, I don't like the word older, more experienced and knowledgeable people like us, mentoring them, you've got a good winning recipe. How else? That keeps on flowing. We become more relevant, stay relevant, and we have that constant knowledge of new generation, new excitement, new passion, new ideas. It is compulsory for everybody to do this. I mean, it's one of those things. We have to have these people. And with SKAL, again, it is a brilliant start and platform for them to be able to know. And I must just correct you. People like us, they call them the silver generation. is going to be more powerful than the millennials in the travel industry. We have the energy still, we've got the health, and we've got the money, and of course, so watch out for our generation taking over from the millennials traveling. But this is what I wanted to tell you is, please, the young people should know that this is their best platform to be able to do what they have to do. Remember, the saying is, it's not who you know, it's who knows you, to be able to go further on in life.
Yes. Well, I guess I keep thanking you, Lavonne, and I guess I have to keep thanking you because you are very motivated and you have a great energy. And as young professionals, I guess that's what we need to hear from you all, and during this difficult time, because you know some of us, some of our young professionals, they lost their jobs, and they and also the students that about to graduate from their universities, and they might they might feel lost at some point as there is lack of um, jobs in the industry, and the future is unclear from that perspective. So I think we need to have these talks with you every day and invite all the young professionals so they can get motivated. So that's amazing. Thank you for being positive. So the travel tourism industry is a big family, from aviation to hotels, transportation, and TMCs. We are strong together. So how we can support one to another in terms of aviation, hotels, transportation, and TMCs, and what is your message to our industry? So we have last 10 minutes. So I just wanted to get your message to the industry.
Talking about support, you know that for me, and I think everybody will agree, relationships, business and social, business and private, are going to become the most important aspect in life and is going to become so important. This is the most important time to build up relationships out of any time in your life. Mm-hmm. SKAL International offers you that. So before, before we, BC, the world BC, we supported everybody. That is what our platform in SKAL International is that we represent every sector of the industry, and we were there. Our slogan is doing business amongst friends. So we were there to support before the COVID by supplying business, sharing, networking, sharing ideas. And so now, while we're in this pandemic, we need more support than ever before. Of course, you can turn around and say, oh, I'm strong, I can do this on my own. Of course, you can go and swim and float for a few days in this big ocean. But eventually, you're going to need the support, the push, the good energy, the collaboration of other people to get you through this dark ocean and to land. And we must never, ever forget that SKAL International, when you're reviewing and you are researching big companies, the most important thing is access to talent and access to information. And here you are, being a SKAL member, where you have access to 102 different countries and nearly 15,000 members in different aspects, in different sectors, where you can get support from. Now, I was telling my sister the other day, yeah, you can sit in my lounge in Pretoria and within 40 minutes speak to 10 or 12 different friends across the world. That for me is support. We all need to have support. And for me now we need emotional and spiritual support. Now we need motivation. Now we need to be there for each other, to encourage, to listen, to share information, to network, now more than ever. And that is what SKAL International gives you. I've always said that being part of SKAL International is you immediately part of a global family. You have access to talent all over the world. And for me, just to say accessing talent, but think about it. Being a SKAL member, you can get access to everybody's talent, captains of industry, exciting new people coming into the industry, just with a push of a button via WhatsApp, Skype, Zoom, or whatever. So my message to all members and to maybe members who want to become new members is don't forget, don't forget to pay your dues to SKAL International. Remain being a SKAL International member. For your small investment, you are getting huge return. And this is going to be the best investment that you do, because this is going to support you through pandemics, through challenges, and through the good times. So that is my message out to members at the moment.
Thank you, Lavonne. And I think both of us really confident that travel will come back and we will come back stronger than ever. So I can't thank you enough um, for taking the time and sharing valuable insights with us today. You know, as I mentioned before, I have been watching live streams and news all the time since we have plenty of time now. And what I see is people are talking about what coronavirus did to our industry and our lives. So I think our message was clear today. We need to focus on the future. So I thank you again for your view and for your knowledge, for your sharing your knowledge with us. I think we just came to the end of our live stream. I'm just going to see if there are any questions for us before we go. I think we pretty much answered all the questions. Let me see. I think we don't have any other questions. So thank you so much, Lavonne, again. And I truly enjoyed our live stream, and it was a great pleasure and honor to talk to you.
Thank you.
So thank you. And thank you so much all for watching us. Please continue to watch our live streams. Stay safe and well. Thank you.